There is a moment at the 2026 AMAs that lasts less than 30 seconds. No dramatic music, no planned interaction, no scripted moment between two massive artists sharing the same stage. Just SZA, one of the most critically acclaimed voices in R&B right now, a woman who has sold out arenas and topped charts without needing anyone's validation, standing in front of Jimin. And something about the way she looked at him said everything that nobody planned for that night. The cameras caught it, the audience felt it, and within hours, that 30-second window became the clip that everyone kept rewinding. What exactly happened, and why did a moment that was supposed to be a routine award presentation turn into one of the most talked about interactions of the entire AMA night? This channel is for the people who pay attention to what happens in the space between the headlines. Not just the award wins, those were incredible and we covered them, but the moments that weren't planned, the interactions that nobody scheduled in advance, the human reactions that slip through even the most produced television events in the world. If that's the kind of analysis you come here for, you're in the right place. And I genuinely think the final layer of this story is going to reframe the whole moment in a way you haven't considered yet. May 25th, 2026, MGM Grand Garden Arena, Las Vegas. The 52nd American Music Awards, hosted by Queen Latifah, one of the most significant award ceremonies in American music, is already a historic night for BTS and for Jimin specifically. They have already opened the show with a pre-recorded performance of Hooligan that turned the arena into a sea of light sticks. They are in the middle of a 4-night run at Allegiant Stadium just across the city. And now, nearly 90 minutes into the ceremony, all 7 members of BTS walk out onto the MGM Grand Garden Arena stage to present an award. The award is Best Female R&B Artist. The winner is SZA. What happened in the next 30 seconds is what we are here to talk about. When SZA's name was announced and she walked toward the stage, something shifted in the room that was immediately visible even through a television broadcast. She was not walking toward a microphone, she was walking toward people, specifically toward BTS, toward the group she was about to receive an award from. And the expression on her face in that moment was not the composed, professional excitement of a major artist accepting a major award. It was something more immediate than that, more personal, the kind of expression that happens before the professional composure has time to catch up. Hollywood Reporter described her reaction in very specific terms. She expressed her excitement over meeting the K-pop superstars. Not polite acknowledgement, not gracious professional warmth, excitement, the real kind. Fans who were watching live, both in the arena and through the CBS broadcast, noticed it immediately. The clip was being captured and uploaded before SZA had even finished her acceptance speech. Now here is the detail that most recaps glossed over entirely. SZA is not a new fan. She is not someone discovering BTS for the first time at an awards ceremony. She is one of the most critically respected artists currently working in American music, someone whose album SOS spent 10 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200, and whose artistry has been compared to the greatest R&B acts of multiple generations. She is not someone who typically performs excitement visibly, publicly, or on command. Her public persona, both in interviews and in live appearances, tends toward composed self-possession. She is known for being direct, honest, and very difficult to read in the ways that celebrities are trained to be readable. And yet, the moment she walked toward BTS, toward Jimin specifically because of where the camera angle placed him, the composure dropped for just a moment, just enough for the real thing underneath it to show. That is not a small detail. For someone with SZA's specific kind of public presence, that fraction of a second of unguarded reaction says considerably more than a planned statement ever would. Fans watching the broadcast in real time started pulling a thread that went further back than May 25th, 2026. Because it turns out, SZA's awareness and appreciation for Jimin is not something that began at the AMAs. In previous interviews, including conversations that surfaced and resurfaced in fan compilations in the days following the AMA moment, SZA has spoken about K-pop and about BTS specifically in ways that go beyond general industry acknowledgement. She has referenced their work in contexts where she was not being asked about K-pop. She has spoken about the craft of their production and the quality of their vocal performances in terms that indicated genuine familiarity, not surface-level awareness. This is the context the 30-second clip lives inside, not a chance encounter between two artists who happen to be at the same event, but a meeting between someone who has been paying attention for a long time and the person she has been paying attention to. And the cameras caught the gap between knowing about someone and actually being in the same room as them.
And this is the part that most people talking about this moment have not fully unpacked. There is a very specific kind of moment that happens at award shows, particularly at American award shows, which are heavily produced, carefully timed, and filled with artists who have been trained to perform composure under pressure, where something real breaks through. It happens in the transitions, the moments between the scripted parts, when the teleprompter has run out of words and the camera is still running and two people are just standing in proximity to each other without a predetermined script for what comes next. That is exactly where this moment lived. Jimin, for his part, responded with the natural warmth that anyone who has watched him in unscripted interactions already knows well, not with the heightened performance of someone aware that they are being watched, but with the genuine, attentive, present quality that makes every person he interacts with, from fans at a barricade in Mexico City to a Grammy-winning artist at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, feel like they are actually being seen. And that is where the combination became something more interesting than either of its individual parts, because SZA's unguarded excitement meeting Jimin's genuine attentiveness created a dynamic in those 30 seconds that felt nothing like a routine award show presentation. It felt like two people making actual contact, not as brands or as industry figures, but as human beings who are both very good at what they do and who recognized something in each other in real time. There is something that this moment adds to a much longer story that is worth naming explicitly. The entire arc of BTS's 2026 comeback and Jimin's specific place within it has been a story about recognition, not the manufactured kind that comes from promotion cycles and carefully timed releases, but the organic kind that accumulates when the work is genuinely extraordinary and the world eventually has no choice but to acknowledge it. Jimin spent years as the member whose vocal ability was questioned by critics who never took the time to listen carefully. He spent years as the member whose artistic contributions were dismissed or overlooked by commentary that was not paying close enough attention. He came into BTS as the last trainee with a background in contemporary dance and no formal vocal training, and he built something from that foundation that took more than a decade to be fully seen by the parts of the industry that were not already paying attention. And then, on May 25, 2026, one of the most respected voices in American R&B stood in front of him at one of America's biggest music awards, and the camera caught the 30-second window where she could not entirely maintain her professional composure. That is not a small thing. For fans who have watched the full journey, it lands with a weight that is very difficult to articulate and very easy to feel. And yet, that is still not the part that made the most people stop. Because there is a very specific detail about the timing of this moment that almost nobody seemed to be discussing. Jimin had just finished closing out BTS's Artist of the Year acceptance speech, the last person to hold the microphone in the most important award of the night, with the words, "Thank you for passionately following us on tour and showing so much love in every city." And then, just moments later, he was standing on the same stage presenting an award to SZA, and the person receiving that award could not fully contain what she felt about being in that space. The sequence of events, Jimin closing out the biggest award of the night with the most personal words, and then immediately turning around to hand recognition to someone else, captured something about how he moves through these spaces that is very difficult to manufacture. He was not performing graciousness. He was not transitioning from winner to presenter with the practiced smoothness of someone who has been coached through these transitions. He was just there, fully present, as himself. and SZA responded to that presence in the only way that felt honest, with the expression she didn't have time to prepare for. There is something that happens when someone who is genuinely exceptional meets someone who genuinely recognizes their work, and neither of them is pretending. That is what 30 Seconds at the MGM Grand Garden Arena captured on May 25, 2026. Not a viral moment engineered by publicists, not a planned crossover between two fandoms, just two artists, one of whom has been building something remarkable for over a decade, and the other of whom has clearly been paying close enough attention to know it, in the same room for the first time, and the cameras were in the right place. There is a pattern worth naming before we close this out. Throughout the entire Arirang World Tour, from the security guard in Tampa who couldn't stop smiling when Jimin walked past, to the luchador Mystico in Mexico City who came off the ring specifically to embrace him, to the 50,000 fans in Mexico who flooded Zocalo Square just to be in the same air as him, to SZA at the MGM Grand Garden Arena who couldn't contain herself for 30 seconds on national television. There is a consistency that is very hard to explain away as coincidence or as the product of careful image management. These are not people who were told to react that way. These are not interactions that were choreographed in advance. They are the spontaneous responses of people who encountered Jimin as he actually is, not as the brand, not as the artist persona, but as the person, and found something in that encounter that their composure wasn't entirely equipped to handle. That kind of response does not come from a marketing strategy. It comes from something real that a person carries with them everywhere they go, whether the cameras are ready for it or not. Here's what I want to leave you with. We talk a lot about Jimin's impact in terms of numbers, streaming records, chart positions, brand reputation scores, trending hashtags, and all of those things are real and they matter, and they tell an important part of the story. But what happened with SZA on that stage is something that numbers don't capture particularly well. It is the recognition that comes not from an algorithm or a survey methodology, but from one artist watching another and seeing something they respect enough to let their composure slip for 30 seconds on national television. That kind of recognition is worth more than most things that come with a trophy attached to it. The question I want to leave you with is this. Thinking about everyone whose reaction to Jimin, whether it was a security guard in Mexico, a luchador in an arena, or SZA at the MAS, has surprised you in the best possible way, what does that pattern tell you about what Jimin actually projects when he is just being himself? Because I think the answer to that question explains more about why he has become what he has become than any chart position ever could. Write what you think in the comments. The most interesting observations about Jimin consistently come from the people who have been watching the longest. Until the next one, take care of yourselves, and as always, purple you.